The only reason why I'm able to sit here today and have a chat with you is because of the unbelievable generosity of my donor family.
And he noticed my chest beginning to go blue up to my face, and that was obviously when the heart was beginning to fail.
I was born in the mid-60s with a disease called cystic fibrosis. It's a genetic inherited disease which basically affects your lungs and pancreas.
Not too long later, I remember trying to get up off my feet and get onto the stretcher because they're having difficulty getting into the house. And then that was it for me. That was lights out moment.
So I did very well for many years until I was in my mid-20s when I started to have more and more chest infections which became more and more serious. I knew that I was deteriorating quickly, but even though when the doctor came in, my doctor who I'd known 15 years, he just said, "Look, Sean, now's the time we need to start thinking about transplant. You know it's coming, but it's still a real shock."
Patients are referred from other hospitals to our transplant physicians here, and then we would bring the patients in for assessment. So we would see them at clinic, bring them in for a week for assessment, and then we take them all the way through to actually getting on the transplant list. So we do build up quite a relationship with the patients and their family while they're going through the whole process of assessment, which for some patients can take a number of months before they actually manage to get on the transplant list.
I would say up to 40% of donors, we don't get consent. So all what we are doing now is around the 60% of donors available. So that's why we still have people on the waiting list who die awaiting transplants.
We need to train our junior doctors, our nurses and our consultant colleagues and to have them on board and bring them on board in the important job of actually encouraging them to give patients and their families the opportunity to donate in such tragic circumstances.
Any recipient who's fortunate enough to have their life saved or transformed, it's all down to the incredible generosity of that family at that time being brave enough to make that decision.
Although it was a huge relief, there was no huge amount of shock that I can remember going, wow, I've had a transplant. It was more of a case of, fantastic, I'm alive again. And without knowing that that's what I'd been through until weeks later when everyone felt comfortable to talk to me about it, it was almost like I knew that I'd been in a bad place and obviously very, very little chance of survival, I was told.
One of the great things about transplant is my children were 2 and 4 when I went for the operation. If I'd not had the operation at that point, I would have died within 3 months. My children would have had no memory of me. The great thing is this week we've just celebrated my eldest daughter's birthday, who's now 12.
I could have probably very easily, which I think a lot of people might do, is tend to sort of wallow. And I suppose that's their choice, but mine was very much a one of gratitude and say, do you know what, I've been given it, let's get on with it now and do what you can moving forwards to have a good life, as good a life as I had before.
Feedback we get from families is that it's been a very positive experience. It can really help with the grief process. It's quite a special and particular focus for them to think about the other people who have a second chance at life because of the decision they made and that their loved one has helped somebody in a really, really special way.
The British Transplant Games, they take place every year, usually at a major city in the UK, and they're a great celebration of life after transplant. It's about coming together, it's about celebrating new life, it's about celebrating a new start.
You do all the things that you want to do anyway, sports-wise. You can do as much as you want, as little as you want. The social side's good. Everyone's been in the same position. It's allowed me to see many places of the world that I would never have gone to see. I have no doubt. And there's many more places that I still want to go that are on the World Transplant Games calendar.
Around 20 to 30% of patients on the long transplant waiting list die before they have opportunity to have a transplant, and around 5 to 10% of heart transplant patients. In addition to heart and lung, there are large number of people waiting for liver, kidney, pancreas transplant, etc. And it's estimated that annually there will be up to 1,000 patients maybe not survive a year.
Most people in the UK would accept an organ if they needed one. So most people agree with the principle of it. There's only 30% of people who have actually signed up to the organ register and, more importantly, shared their wishes with their family. The sad fact is that 3 people today will die because of the lack of organs, and that's a fact we want to try and change.
Like everything in life, sometimes the table may turn around and maybe all of us, we may need organs as well. So donation is indirectly benefits society.